ground level and how difficult it is to get people to be a vegan, people don't even realize that no more. Vegans don't even realize how they're making it more complicated and running more people away. They're not bringing more people in. Sometimes you're not fortunate enough to be born with parents that's vegan. So you grow up and you decide you're going to change the way you eat. Now, when you get to this point where you decide you want to stop eating meat, you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan, this is a very important moment in your life because you're trying to take care of your health. You're thinking about long-term health prevention. You're wise and you realize that, hey, if I do this now, it's going to pay off later. I'm not going to have all these health problems. And so you'll become a vegan. You'll become a vegetarian. And over the years, there's been a lot of people that have woke up. Not enough, I would say. I would say if people ask me over the last 38 years, do I feel like the improvements on being a vegan and a vegetarian, have they been more positive than negative? I would say they've been too slow, way too slow. No matter how much vegan goods you see in the stores nowadays, as far as I'm concerned, compared to the amount of people we was pushing and trying to teach, we're way behind. You know, don't look at these success stories and think that we're making great improvements. We are not making that great improvements. A lot of people are not eating good. So the number one mission becomes trying to encourage people to eat good. But what happens is when people become vegans and vegetarians, they start learning more and more and more and more, and then they kind of get big-headed. They start trying to be the perfect vegan, which is fine for them, but then outwardly they express that. And they don't go back and reach back for the beginners again. You know, they become all complicated publicly. And I think that's dangerous. I think it's not a good move. Anytime you're trying to change the mindset of the people, then you got to figure out what's the most important mission. So some people say to me, well, as people become vegans and become more elevated, don't they need somebody elevated to teach them as they become elevated? Yeah. But if you're going to have more people teaching when they got elevated and nobody bringing them into it, who you going to have elevated to teach? The basics of the war is getting them from the jump. The recruits. That's where the action at. The action is not after this person already got so much knowledge, you making videos, you naming stuff that all vegans like me know, but you're not talking to the average person no more. If I got to put out energy, I got to decide what the most energy I want to put out, and that's for the brand new people. The person that's still trying to get off beef. We get so high up and so high and mighty with this vegan stuff that we just get to talking to other vegans. We don't even talk to regular people no more. You know, in 1979, when I stopped eating meat, we didn't even know it was vegan. We still call ourselves vegetarians. I was an ancient Egyptian vegetarian, spaceman. Now I'm committed. Vegan spaceman. Can you believe it? See? We was Egyptians. We wasn't committed, and we was vegetarians. We just didn't eat no dairy. And so the idea that I was going to be out and preaching to vegetarians did not exist, because guess what? There were no vegetarians. Duh. That was the whole idea, that you was doing something where there wasn't hardly nobody around. So now you just learning. Now you just learning. You're around a whole bunch of people that don't know. So your first instinct is going to be what? To teach a bunch of people that don't know. But now people have become vegan conscious, the vegan community, just like the black conscious community. They become vegan, the black conscious community. And both of these communities, they talk way over the average person. So the vegans is the same way. Where's all the stuff for the beginners? I mean, think about it. If you're trying to help people with their health situations, then you're going to be teaching based on how the people actually are. You're going to take a real survey of the people, right? So we want to change the people. We want to make them eat better. So if we take a real legitimate survey of the people, we'll find out they eat a lot of different meat. So you'll have meat, then you got vegetarian. Okay. How do we just come in dealing with them with the vegetarian and vegan? Don't we have to deal with them on the meat? Shouldn't we start teaching them how to get off of meat, how to let certain meats go and stay with certain meats? Sometimes we just say no meat, but how is that going to help the beginner? When I was a beginner, I stopped pork, then I stopped beef, then I stopped chicken, then I stopped fish. Now, when I was just at pork and you would have just told me stop all meat, you would have made it too complicated for me. That would have been too complicated. If you would have gave me an alkaline diet, no way I would have been able to do that. That's not realistic. And so some of these expert vegans, they like the Babylon system. It's like you work for Babylon. Like you are actually one of the main people that stop people from being vegans. Real talk. Like if a person out here on the streets, a person gets sick of something, and they ask me about how they can change their eating habits. The more complicated I make it, the less chances they're going to do it. So the whole principle was always to make it easy. I'm telling you how it was done. It was done to be real easy. So if a person asks me, well, what do you eat? They say, you don't eat meat? I say, no. I say, well, what do you eat? I would make it real simple. I would say, I eat everything in the fruit and vegetable section at the grocery store. This is something they could picture. They all going to the grocery store. You know how you go in the grocery store. A lot of times these stores here, as soon as you go to the right, that's where all the vegetables are, right? Fruits and vegetables, you walk in. So when I say that, they could picture that. Oh, he eat everything over there. You know how the vegetable section be? So when they look, they go, oh. See, I make it simple. I don't start telling them, oh, man, I drink spirulina. In the morning I get up, I make sure I have my golden seal, because I have to be on spiritual acrimony with my body so it can process to the elimination of the fullness of the Haru. Yeah, go over there, eat everything you've been eating but the meat. This is what you do. You eat pork? Okay, stop eating pork. Stop eating pork for 2 months and call me and let me know how you're doing. And then once you feel like you don't want to eat no pork no more, then do beef. But don't do beef until you're sure you don't want to eat pork no more. So I could build up, because they own meat. I don't see how I could just start talking about vegetables. How you going to wean off the meat? So complicated vegans, it's like some Babylon, because they're not weaning people off the meat. They're talking way up here. I look at a lot of vegans and it's almost like it's a contest, like who the best vegan is. You know what I'm saying? Who's the most veganist? You see? It becomes a whole uppity thing, I think more vegans should be making more vegetarian meals, presenting them. I think that even though we're vegan, I think we still need to be creating that step ladder. We shouldn't just go way up here and be vegans and don't have no stairs where you can come up there to be vegans. We just up here and you just down here. We're like, come on, jump on up here, jump higher. See, instead of, okay, take these steps right here. And I think as vegans, I think we should lower a lot of the food that we be advertising. I think we should advertise a lot of food that's vegetarian. Seriously. And I think we should be advertising like what fish to eat, what fish is most likely messed up from Fukushima, which one's not. I think we should be really doing more of that as vegans and laying down the process to becoming vegan instead of just, man, I'm already vegan. See, I've been vegan for 38 years. How fair would that be? I mean, would nobody know what I'm talking about? Not to mention is that another thing, because I know a lot of vegans are going to watch this. When you're young, you're going to go through a lot of different things, okay? So somebody come to you and say, hey, this is faux tea. This is a great herb. Take this herb. Okay, yeah, you're going to take the faux tea. You're going to be all hyped up on the faux tea. But what you got to remember, if you're going to be a vegan 38, 40 years, you ain't going to take nothing just for that straight 40 years. You're going to change. You're going to go through changes. Different foods you're going to eat at different times. Different herbs you're going to want to take at different times. You're not going to just take a herb every day your whole life. That's not going to happen. You go through things. So the whole thing, I tell people, just make sure you try everything within your lifetime. It don't got to be stacked this Wednesday, next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that I got to have rosemary. It don't go like that. If you get some rosemary when you can get some rosemary. As a vegan or vegetarian, try to run everything through your body. That's the key. Oh, wow, extra Spanish pepper, natural, never had that. Anything you find is different, try it. Run it through your body. Oh, okay, cherries. Okay, next time blueberries. Okay, next time strawberries. And eventually you get it all through. Because man haven't told you what's all in that stuff yet. Nobody really knows yet. Everybody that's talking to y'all, talking vegan and vegetarian, they won't tell y'all that they're at baby steps and that their whole study is at the ground level. And we are like, what? Less than probably 3% of the knowledge we need to know about the fruits and vegetables and what they really do. Real talk. We ain't even at 10%. So I think being all complicated, I think being too much of an advanced vegan publicly all the time, I think that it's kind of rude and you're not helping yourself. You always want to help yourself. I always think back to the young me. I think back to me when I just wanted to be a vegan. So I always want to help that guy, because that's me. Let's really try to talk to the people about how to actually get off meat. The meat part. Let's not just act like meat's not out here. We got people that's on meat. So if I just make a thing and I'm never talking about meat and I'm never really telling them about how to get off meat and I'm just talking about how to get on vegetables, that's why I disagree with a lot of these people. And that's what I'm telling you young vegans. It's not about what you put in. It's about what you don't put in. See? This is the philosophy you got to get in your head when you want to eat right. It's about what you don't put in. Now, people will say that don't make no sense because if you don't put something in, you're going to have to put something else in, right? But see, if you're putting in the wrong thing, you ain't going to have no room to put in the right thing. So it's about not putting in bad things in your body. And think about it. For every action, there's a reaction. So if your first action is to not put bad things in your body, what's going to be the reaction? To put good things into your body. But you'll have that principle that the basic thing is what you don't put in your body. You know how many vegans still drinking out of them plastic jugs? Vegans like myself, waiting on my Berkey system to get here. But it's a constant battle. You go from look how many years when we was young vegans, you see those plastic jugs, it's like not see-through, look like milk jugs that all the water be in. They say don't drink out of them white-looking plastic ones no more. Guess how many years us vegans back in the 70s, guess how many of them jugs we drank out of? And back then, when that water was in them plastic jugs, we thought we was doing something because at that time people wasn't even buying water. So we thought we was doing something. We buying water way before they started talking about that plastic. They ain't started talking about that plastic till 5, 6, 7 years ago. We was doing that back in 79, 80, carrying them jugs. Look how many years. See? So it's going to be constantly a fight to do better. So being too complicated, that's not going to help bring new people in, because there's so many levels to this. And I know we need people, when you get to a certain level, if you're already a vegan, you want me to show you some vegan meals. I understand that. I would agree with that. But let's say if I show you 100 things, as far as vegan meals, I can't show you like 999 vegan meals or 100 vegan meals. I'm going to have to show you some other steps. Like when I'm doing it with videos. So with my videos, I talk about other steps. I talk about how to get off meat. I just don't come talking about vegan and all this vegan stuff to eat and how great it is to be a vegan. Because that's for the people that's already vegan. I think we should put more effort into putting really good vegan quality ingredients into vegetarian meals to make the vegetarian meal the best it could be, even though it might have some dairy in it. But still try to make it the best it could be to try to bring people up to the next level. And we got to just keep remembering to, bring people up and not talk over people's head and not to pump a vegan lifestyle. If there's a certain vegan lifestyle out there that is complicated, tone it down a little bit. Make it selective when you talk about it. Don't just be throwing it out there on the new people, because they're not going to be able to do it. That's why I was attacking the Dr. Sebi eating plan, because I was on a vegan Facebook group page, and a sister said she wanted to go vegan. And then they started telling her all that. She was straight coming from meat, regular cooking, want to go vegan. They right off the top, you had some vegans posting nice vegan meals for her to eat. People that was in the Savvy started telling her, don't eat that stuff. That ain't no good. So it was just total confusion. I wasn't feeling that. They was out of order. If that would have been some vegans talking to somebody who's already a vegan and they came in and said that would have been respected. But for a person that's eating meat and they just trying to find out, and some vegans show them a vegan meal, why would you go in front of them, in front of this new person to criticize the vegan meal and start putting all this confusion out there? And then, you got people try to talk to me like I'm stupid. Just because I'm not saying it the way you want to say it, don't mean I'm not slicker than you and I'm more wiser than you. Because in reality, that's how the school do it the way I say it. The school, you don't send your daughter to school and your daughter go to school when she's in 8th grade. Do they take her to the senior high school class? Do they take your kid, when you take your kid to school in 8th grade, do they go sit them down and start teaching them math from the juniors in high school? The reality is, look, don't be all sophisticated all the time, okay? You gotta be humble when you learn things. When you learn things, you gotta give back, You gotta give back. You gotta give back to the young ones that was back when you was. You just can't forget about them and just get so that you're just talking to your own, people come into something. And then as they grow, they just talk to each other. And the new people coming in, they don't even talk to them no more. You just get this group of these people and they into this thought patterns. And then they just start talking over everybody. They just forget. They don't put on hands or pull nobody up or nothing. And vegans is doing that real heavy right now. They just ain't even considering people that's transitioning. It's hardly even mentioned. It's the transition. It's all about who's doing it and showing off what you went and bought from the store. And it's all about cooking something with all these ingredients that overwhelm a new person. It'll make it too hard for them. See, the store becomes a stress issue when you start needing special ingredients from the health food store, from Whole Foods or whatever. Now, you got to be primed to be ready for all that type of movement. It ain't just easy like that. It could become complicated. It's too many changes for you. I'm asking you to change how you eat. Then I'm asking you to change your movements, where you go shop at, where you might shop right here. They ain't got organic. So now I'm being all complicated. I'm telling you to go buy all these special ingredients. You're trying to change how you eat, but then, okay, that's a big change. That's what you bring in the house. Now I want you to drive somewhere else and all this. See, people ain't looking at that. So now it's too much stress on you. You don't know where all this stress coming from, but now you got to go to Whole Foods. Then when you go in there and you see the prices, I basically told you, well, basically, if you want to eat right, you got to spend some serious more money. You got to go buy, all this special salt, right? That's so healthy, but it's also so expensive. I just would like to see more vegans reach back and talk about the beginning period more. I think let's do more recruiting. We need to do more recruiting. We need to do more recruiting. We ain't doing enough recruiting. We got to get these people off this meat. Well, you don't want to sit around just watching your family sick like that. We got to get these people to eat better. And it's like a few people, we can't do it on our own. We need other people to help us do this. We have got to get these people from stop killing themselves. We got to stop looking at them as like, you got to stop getting on the internet and stuff and looking out and looking at people out. You got to go to your family reunion and look at your own people. Like, these are the people you're really trying to save. You got to get them off of that stuff, killing themselves. They don't know they killing themselves. Don't you think if a person really knew they was killing themselves, they would stop? But if you way high on the hog, you ain't going to be able to get them to change. We're going to have to get back to the basics. And I'm going to have to make a whole video on that because I think we need to get back. We talk about we going to Whole Foods, but we ain't dealing with Whole Foods. I think we need to go back to the basics. When people start saying vegan, let's go back to what it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Beans and rice and, cabbage or greens or whatever you got with it. Just basic, really whole food. Not so much, all the special vegan meals. Stop telling the beginner all this stuff for them to remember all this stuff and running people off. And I could say this because I've been in it for a long time. It's a lot of people that didn't make it. This is what y'all don't know. Y'all always hear me say I've been a vegan for 38 years, but it's been a lot of people that started out eating like that. Women don't eat like that. They've been back on meat. You know how many people go back on meat? Get married. Oh, man, my wife. I got with my wife. Yeah, that's what the men be saying. I don't know what the women be saying, but the men, that's what they be saying. Oh, man, I got, man, they got some kind of story. But a lot of people, I used to be a vegetarian. I used to be a vegan. They can't hang because the pressures of society, the price. See, if we want to be complicated, guess what go along with complicated vegan? Expensive. We're going to get into it. This part one. Let me say that now, because I'm going to have to get down when I think. I'm going to have to really get down.